There's a dangerous lie we've all been sold. From the moment we could understand words, we were taught that helping others is always virtuous, always right, always necessary. Say yes. Give more. Be available. And if you dare to hesitate, if you dare to pull back, you must be selfish. You must be cold. But Alan Watts discovered something profound that challenges this entire notion. He said we often confuse love with interference, kindness with enabling. What if your constant rescuing isn't help at all? What if you're actually stealing something precious from those you claim to care about? Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see compassion forever. According to Alan Watts, there are 7 types of people who will drain every ounce of your life force, and the tragedy isn't that they're taking. The tragedy is that by giving, you're preventing them from becoming who they need to be. Number 1, the chronically lazy. Alan Watts often spoke about the natural order of things, how the universe operates on principles that cannot be violated without consequence. And one of those principles is this: energy flows where there is receptivity and effort. Nature herself demonstrates this ruthlessly. A tree does not continue pouring nutrients into a branch that refuses to bear fruit. A river does not flow uphill to accommodate the stone that will not move. There is a profound difference between someone who stumbles and someone who has decided to remain on the ground. The person who stumbles will grab your hand and pull themselves up. But the chronically lazy person will grab your hand and expect you to carry them. And here's what most people don't understand: the moment you do, you become their prison. Alan Watts said that we cannot walk another person's path for them. Each soul must encounter its own friction, its own resistance, because that friction is what creates the spark of transformation. When you remove that friction, you remove the possibility of growth. The chronically lazy have made a subtle but devastating choice. They have discovered that if they appear helpless enough, someone will always step in. They have learned to weaponize their own incompetence. And you, with your good heart and noble intentions, become the enabler of their stagnation. Watch them closely. They always have a reason. Their childhood was difficult. Their luck is bad. The world is unfair. Some of this may be true, but here is the question Alan Watts would ask: what are they doing about it right now, in this present moment? Are they taking even the smallest step forward? Or are they simply rehearsing their victim story, waiting for the next rescuer to arrive? When you help someone who refuses to help themselves, you commit a spiritual theft. You rob them of the satisfaction of their own victory. You rob them of the strength that comes only through struggle. You rob them of the fundamental realization that they are capable. Some of you have been carrying people for years, paying their bills, solving their problems, cleaning up their disasters. And every time you do, you tell yourself it's love. But Alan Watts warned that true love sometimes looks like withdrawal, like allowing someone to feel the full weight of their choices. The chronically lazy need hunger. They need discomfort. They need to stand at the edge of consequence and decide whether they will finally move or remain in their suffering. Only when the pain of staying still exceeds the pain of change will they discover their own power. Number 2, the perpetually ungrateful. According to Alan Watts, gratitude is not merely politeness. It is a state of consciousness. It is the recognition that you are not separate from the world, that every gift you receive is the universe expressing itself through another form. When gratitude is absent, there is a fundamental disconnection from reality. The perpetually ungrateful person lives in a strange delusion. They believe the world owes them. Your kindness is not seen as generosity but as obligation. Your sacrifice is not acknowledged because in their mind, it was their right to receive it. And here is the cruelest paradox: the more you give to them, the less they value it. I want you to picture this clearly. You could empty your bank account to help them. You could sacrifice your time, your energy, your peace of mind. You could give them the very shirt off your back. And they will take it without a second thought. No thank you. No acknowledgement. No reverence whatsoever. Then, the moment you stop, the moment you have nothing left to give, they will turn on you. They will become angry, offended, betrayed. How dare you stop providing what was never yours to owe in the first place? Alan Watts spoke often about the ego and its insatiable hunger. The ungrateful person is trapped in ego, believing they are the center of the universe, that all things should flow toward them like rivers to the sea. They do not see you as a person. They see you as a resource. They do not see kindness. They see weakness. They do not see sacrifice. They see opportunity. There is a story Alan Watts once referenced about a monk who gave everything he owned to a beggar. The beggar looked at the pile of possessions and complained that the monk had not given him his robes as well. This is the nature of the ungrateful. No amount is ever enough because the void inside them cannot be filled from the outside. When you pour your energy into someone who cannot appreciate it, you are not planting seeds in fertile soil. You are throwing them into a bottomless pit. And that pit will never be satisfied, never be full, never say, "Enough, I have received." Alan Watts discovered that the universe operates on reciprocity, on the natural flow of giving and receiving. When that flow is blocked by ingratitude, the relationship becomes parasitic. You give and give and give, and they take and take and take, and nothing returns. This is not a relationship. This is extraction. The ungrateful must learn that gifts are not guaranteed, that kindness is not infinite, that every act of generosity is a choice, not an entitlement. And sometimes the only way they learn this is by losing access to what they fail to appreciate. Number 3, the arrogant and self-righteous. Alan Watts said that the greatest obstacle to wisdom is not ignorance but the illusion of knowledge. The arrogant person is not someone who knows too little. They are someone who believes they know everything. And this belief creates an impenetrable wall around them. You cannot help someone who believes they need no help. You cannot teach someone who believes they have nothing to learn. The arrogant person does not come to you seeking wisdom. They come seeking validation. They want you to confirm what they already believe, to applaud their perspective, to reinforce their sense of superiority. And if you dare to offer anything that contradicts their worldview, they will reject you entirely. According to Alan Watts, true wisdom begins with the acknowledgement of not knowing. The wise person understands that reality is vast, mysterious, ever-changing. They hold their beliefs lightly, willing to examine them, willing to be wrong. But the arrogant person clings to their beliefs like a drowning man clings to a piece of driftwood. To admit uncertainty would be to admit weakness. To acknowledge they might be wrong would shatter their entire identity. So they double down. They argue. They defend. They attack anyone who challenges them. Pride is perhaps the most dangerous of all human traits because it masquerades as strength while actually being fear. The arrogant person is terrified of being exposed, of being seen as less than they present themselves to be. And so they build walls of righteousness, of certainty, of judgment. Jesus himself walked away from such people. He did not chase them. He did not beg them to listen. He offered truth, and when it was rejected, he moved on. Alan Watts understood this deeply. You cannot force awakening on someone who is committed to their sleep. The arrogant person must fall. They must encounter their own limitations so directly, so undeniably, that their facade of superiority crumbles. They must hit the ground with enough force that they finally look up and realize how little they actually know. Only then, when they are humbled, when their pride is broken, will they be ready to receive what you have to offer. Until that moment, anything you give them is wasted breath. Number 4, the habitually wicked. Now we enter darker territory. Alan Watts spoke about the shadow, about the parts of human nature we prefer to deny. And one truth we must face is this: not everyone who suffers is a victim. Not everyone who asks for help deserves it. There are people in this world who have chosen wickedness as their way of being. I need you to understand the distinction here. We all make mistakes. We all have moments of selfishness, of weakness, of poor judgment. But the habitually wicked person is not having a bad day. They have made wickedness their lifestyle. They lie without remorse. They manipulate without conscience. They harm others and feel nothing. And when confronted, they do not repent. They justify. They rationalize. They blame everyone except themselves. According to Alan Watts, the universe is a self-regulating system. Actions have consequences. Cause and effect operate whether we acknowledge them or not. When you help a wicked person, you interfere with this natural law. You enable them to avoid the consequences that might otherwise wake them up. You give them resources they will use not to change but to go deeper into their destructive patterns. There is an ancient wisdom that says, "Do not cast your pearls before swine." This is not about judging people as animals. This is about recognizing that some people will take what is valuable and trample it. They will take your kindness and use it as a weapon. They will take your trust and exploit it. They will take your compassion and see it as proof that they can continue their games without consequence. The wicked person does not want to be saved. They want to be empowered. They want someone to fund their schemes, to cover their lies, to clean up their messes so they can continue creating new ones. And if you step into that role, you are not their helper. You are their accomplice. Alan Watts warned about the danger of confusing compassion with complicity. True compassion sometimes means standing back and allowing someone to face the full force of their own darkness. Because only when they are cornered by the consequences of their actions, only when they can no longer escape or blame others, do they have a chance of true transformation. Your help will not save them. Your boundaries might. Number 5, the incurably foolish. Alan Watts once said that wisdom is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover by removing the layers of foolishness. But what happens when someone refuses to remove those layers? What happens when someone is so attached to their ignorance that they defend it? The fool is not someone who lacks intelligence. Many fools are quite clever. The fool is someone who refuses to learn from experience. They touch the hot stove and burn their hand, then touch it again expecting a different result. They make the same mistakes repeatedly, ignore every warning, reject every piece of advice, and then wonder why their life is a disaster. According to Alan Watts, the universe is constantly teaching. Every moment is a lesson. Every consequence is feedback. The wise person pays attention. They learn. They adapt. They grow. But the fool? The fool argues with reality. They insist that things should be different than they are. They blame external circumstances for problems that are clearly self-created. Here is what makes dealing with fools particularly difficult: they often come to you in genuine distress. They are suffering. They are desperate. And your heart responds. You want to help. You want to rescue them. But if you look closely at their history, you will see a pattern. This is not their first crisis. This has happened before. Multiple times. And each time, someone stepped in to save them. And each time, they returned to the exact behaviors that created the crisis in the first place. The fool is like someone drowning who refuses to grab the life preserver you throw them. They keep thrashing, keep panicking, keep going under. And if you jump in to save them, they will pull you down too. Alan Watts understood that some people must learn through suffering. Not because we wish suffering upon them, but because suffering is the only teacher they will listen to. Words bounce off them. Advice is ignored. Warnings are dismissed. But pain gets their attention. When you continuously rescue a fool from the consequences of their actions, you rob them of the one thing that might actually wake them up. You steal their education. You prevent the universe from teaching them what they desperately need to learn. The fool needs to fall. They need to feel the impact. They need to lie there on the ground and finally ask themselves, what am I doing wrong? And until they ask that question sincerely, until they are ready to look at their own role in their suffering, nothing you do will make any difference. Number 6, the Master Manipulator. According to Alan Watts, reality has layers. What appears on the surface is often quite different from what lies beneath. And nowhere is this more true than with the Master Manipulator. This is perhaps the most dangerous person on this list because they are the hardest to identify. They do not come to you with demands. They come with stories. They do not take from you directly. They make you want to give. The manipulator understands human psychology better than most therapists. They know that good people want to help. They know that kind people feel guilty when they say no. They know exactly which emotional buttons to push to get what they want. And they push those buttons like a virtuoso playing an instrument. Alan Watts spoke about the masks we wear, the personas we present to the world. The manipulator has dozens of masks, and they change them depending on their audience. With you, they might be the victim, helpless and wounded. With someone else, they are the hero, strong and capable. The stories never match, but you will not realize this until you compare notes with others who have dealt with them. They will tell you exactly what you need to hear. They will praise you, admire you, make you feel special and important and needed. And slowly, without you even realizing it, you start doing things for them that you would never do for anyone else. You bend your boundaries. You make exceptions. You sacrifice more than you should. Because they have made you believe that you are not just helping them. You are saving them. And who does not want to be someone's savior? But here is what Alan Watts would point out. The manipulator is never actually in as much need as they claim. Their crises are often manufactured. Their emergencies are timed for maximum effect. They have a way of needing you most when you are most vulnerable to saying yes. When you help a manipulator, you are not helping a person in need. You are feeding a system. You are providing fuel for them to continue their games. And the moment you stop, the moment you see through the act, watch what happens. Suddenly, you are the villain. You are ungrateful. You are heartless. They will tell others how you wronged them, how you abandoned them, how you were never really there for them at all. This is the final manipulation, rewriting history so that your refusal to be used any longer becomes your moral failing. The manipulator will never change as long as their tactics work. They need to encounter someone who sees through them, someone who holds firm boundaries, someone who is willing to be called the villain rather than continue being played. Number 7, the Unrepentant Rebel. Alan Watts often spoke about the nature of freedom and rebellion. There is a kind of rebellion that is healthy, necessary even. The rebellion against false authority, against oppressive systems, against ideas that no longer serve. But then there is another kind of rebellion. The rebellion against wisdom itself. Against growth. Against one's own good. The unrepentant rebel knows better but refuses to do better. They have been taught. They have been warned. They have been shown the consequences. But they do not care. They have made a choice, conscious or unconscious, to continue down a destructive path. And nothing you say or do will change their mind. According to Alan Watts, true freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. True freedom is alignment with your deepest nature, with the flow of life itself. But the unrepentant rebel confuses freedom with defiance. They believe that resisting all guidance, rejecting all wisdom, insisting on doing things their way even when their way clearly does not work, is somehow a sign of strength. It is not strength. It is stubbornness. And stubbornness is just fear wearing a different mask. When you try to help the unrepentant rebel, they will nod and smile. They will agree with everything you say. They will promise to change. And the moment you turn your back, they return to their old ways. Not because they do not understand. They understand perfectly. But they are not ready to change. And no amount of your effort will make them ready. This is the hardest type of person to let go of because you can see their potential so clearly. You can see what they could become if they would just choose differently. And so you keep hoping. You keep believing that this time will be different. But it never is. Alan Watts understood that change must come from within. You cannot want someone's healing more than they want it. You cannot fight for their freedom harder than they fight for it. And if you try, you will exhaust yourself completely while they remain exactly as they were. The unrepentant rebel must hit their limit. They must reach a point where the pain of continuing becomes greater than the pain of changing. And until they reach that point, all the help, all the wisdom, all the love in the world will make no difference. So what do we do with all of this ancient wisdom? Do we become cold, indifferent, uncaring? Alan Watts would say absolutely not. We learn discernment. We learn to see clearly. We learn the difference between someone who is struggling and someone who is stuck, between someone who needs a hand up and someone who wants a free ride. True compassion, according to Alan Watts, is not about always saying yes. It is about responding appropriately to what is actually happening, not to what we wish were happening. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is step back. Allow people to face the consequences of their choices. Let them feel the weight of their own decisions. Because it is often through difficulty, through hitting bottom, that people finally wake up. Your energy is sacred. Your time is finite. And you must be wise about where you invest them. Not everyone deserves your help. And that is not cruelty. That is wisdom. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.